it's always good to get a few dry runs in here, so we make sure we get it right, Nance. I'm Coach Rick, joined with Coach Nancy. Say hi, Nance.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Please, if you could, just post your comment. Let us know that you're here, and welcome in particular to those of you who are watching us after the fact. This is our third try. We had some Wi-Fi issues, but hopefully we're piggybacking onto a different Wi-Fi, and it's going to work better this time. Tonight, looks like we might be back, Nance. Great. I'm not sure why the Wi-Fi is wonky tonight, guys, but there we go. Getting some texts in here. Anyway, I'm going to give it one more shot, and then I don't know if there's any other Wi-Fi I can try to connect to, but let's give it a shot here, Nance.
Okay.
Tonight, we are talking about a hugely important program concept. It's called More is Better, as you probably know if you looked at any of our promotional posts for this. This is such an interesting topic, because while it's so connected to people losing more weight with HMR and doing better with their weight management, people first hear it and they think it's the opposite, that it how can this possibly help me do better with my weight? So we're going to really dig into it here. I know, Nance, I've shared with you before, one time I had gone out to do some interviews at one of our local clinics, and it was a very successful group of people who were in phase 2. And these were people who are advocates of the program, all the concepts of the program as well. And what kept coming up was, I did More is Better when I first was losing weight with HMR, but I really didn't believe it was going to work. I didn't trust it. It was just a leap of faith that in my health coach, and that was pretty eye-opening to me. So for those of you watching who may in fact be health coaches, as you're up there talking to people who have just entered the program, thinking you're doing a fantastic job of enrolling them in More is Better, and maybe more there going on than meets the eye. Nance, what's our favorite quote that we've heard through the years?
Oh, I love this one, Rick. Somebody said to you, Rick, shouldn't we be working on some other kind of math here?
I love that. It's been like many years that we still remember, shouldn't we be working on some other kind of math here other than More is Better if I'm trying to lose weight? Nance, take a minute. Sorry, this is kind of a bit of a rocky beginning with the Wi-Fi issues. Have people joined? Is there anyone to welcome?
Yes, we have people joining. Please type us in. Tell us who we've got here. We've got Kate and Sue have joined. Katie's joined. We've got Lydia from Kentucky back. Karen also from Kentucky. Jennifer, love it. Jennifer's here.
Hey, Jennifer.
Kidding about third time's a charm.
Awesome.
We got Sherry back, another one of our regulars. So keep acknowledging. We're glad to see everybody.
Great.
Another one, Kentucky. Kentucky's well represented here. We got Donna.
Oh, great. Fantastic. All right. Well, I just sent a text to the family. Everyone get off Wi-Fi. So maybe that'll fix it, Nancy. Yeah. We're getting beaten down by Nintendo, perhaps. So I've also, a couple other people I'd like to welcome. My sister-in-law shared with me that she's been watching these events. So Marie, if you're listening, awesome. So glad you're here. Awesome. Really great. And then also, Nancy, I don't know if you heard, but there is a program out there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, that organized a viewing party. Yes?
Yes.
HMR Program for weight management out in Green Bay at Bellin. So, to everyone who's watching, those of you who are members there, thank you for being here. Love that. And thank you, Taylor, for organizing this. Amber, Leslie, all of you for being here. Just tremendous. Let us know that you're here. That'd be great.
Awesome.
Great. All right, let's jump into it, Nance. Last week,
I love this.
Yeah.
We've got more of our regulars coming, Rick, and we're getting people from all over the country, which is great. Of course, Shane's on. We've got Beth and Dana, but this is great. Sharon too is saying from Mission Vallejo, which I think is in California, and I probably just made a fool of myself geography-wise, but she goes, now a regular.
A regular.
So,
great.
A regular.
I love it.
Love it.
I love it. We've got some attendance superstars, some ultra attenders here.
Absolutely.
I imagine
very consistent.
I know many of them are attend their own regular group, but they're also doing this as well. So I consider that sort of the platinum standard for doing this each week too. Very good.
And Jennifer wants you to know that she's still in the box, Rick.
Oh, fantastic.
That's awesome, Jennifer. Nice job.
That was my favorite conversation of the week last week, Jennifer, just so you know that. And to hear that just warms my heart. That's fantastic. I'm so glad that made a difference. Awesome. Nancy, last week we were talking about being in the box, what it means to be in the box, why it's so important if you really want to lose a lot of weight. And also, as part of phase 2, pulling off parts of the day in the box is just sort of a behavioral shortcut, or even a full day in the box, just to remove all decisions, just to sort of really, push the problem solving. We had people take on some specific stretch goals. So let's I put up the accountability spotlight here, that rarefied space that some of you listening may decide to take on. Where if you leave this call with something that you say, I'm going to do that, something that you might not have considered doing before you were involved in this conversation, you can say that you're going to do it, you can document it, write it down. All of that helps you to your likelihood of doing it. But if you also share it with the community here, we will follow up with you during our accountability spotlight part of the group. So let's hear it, Nance. What did people take on? And
and if you're here and if you want to comment and let us know, please do. And again, there's no obligation, but if you want to report in whether you did it, whether you did part of it, was it helpful?
Yeah, no pressure. This is you choose.
This is no pressure.
You choose if you want. So
Shane had mentioned he wanted to increase his PA, and then as it relates to in the box, we had a couple people from phase 2. Kate decided she wanted to take on being in the box after dinner. I thought that was really interesting. And then Nancy, who has been saying it's phase 2 is harder than phase 1, which makes a lot of sense too.
That. Yep.
She wanted to sample some in the box, either parts of days or full days. So it'd be interesting to see if she took that on.
Love to hear that.
And then we also had Sherry, who was on a roll with some box days, who wanted to stay in the box all 7 days, and she's already reporting in that she actually did it, and that by saying she was going to do it here, it prevented her from derailing. So that's just a perfect example of sometimes that added accountability really makes a difference for people. And then we had a couple of new people that were on last week, which I'm thrilled that we're getting those as well. Luann had just started day 3 on the diet, had been in the box but committed to staying in the box, wanted to finish up the week that way. And then Paul came on, and he hadn't even started yet. He was starting on Sunday. But after the Facebook said, I want to be in the box when they start. So if anybody wants to report in on that, please do.
Yeah, how did it go? Hold your feet to the fire on that one. No judgments. If it worked, great. If it didn't work, or if you didn't do it, that's fine. Is there anything to do differently in terms of how you approach your week? I know, Nance, sometimes when I take on a real push, something different, something new, and I don't do it, there's nothing for me to do differently except to just take it on again. Right. It just slipped the mind or whatnot. Maybe I could write it down, I suppose, but I find that a lot. Sometimes it's just a matter of, I think I just need to say, I'm going to recommit to doing this. And so that's either way, it's all productive.
Either way. It's often just, something happens and it doesn't happen, or you need a different part of your plan. So Shane's telling us that they did family walks around the neighborhood, and they're starting to add that to a more regular routine. Oh, that's so nice. That's one of the nice things about this whole isolation, I must say.
That's great. Shane showed me earlier this week a picture of a very healthy little snack that I thought that he had made it for his daughter, because they were both eating it, and she had made it. Talk about positive health role modeling sort of taking hold. How great is that? Really?
That was great. Yeah, he showed a picture of it actually on this in this community, and she was having a tea party with him, and that was her treat for him. It was lovely. Cool. Yeah. And Kate's reporting in that she did do a in the box post dinner. She made a lemon mousse, and so she did do that one time, and then she shifted to. You had mentioned Bill's strategy being in the box until dinner.
Yes, my brother Bill, also a health coach, right?
Yep. And she said that she ended up doing well at dinner and after, because she wanted to protect the hard work she'd already done that day. So, and that this week's going much better. So that strategy, And that's a great example of where you try one strategy, and then that just led to trying a different one, and then the different one ended up being even more effective than the first one. So
it's fantastic.
Interesting.
Great. So that's our follow-up on the accountability spotlight. In the second part of this discussion tonight, we're going to ask you, what is your, if you had to pick one, what is your best, more is better strategy? Some element of practicing more is better, giving yourself permission to practice the abundance that's available with healthy, low-calorie food. So be thinking about that. We don't want it yet. We want to get a nice list of it. And then as you're all listening to others' ideas, if you come up with something that you'd like to try that isn't currently in your whole set of routines, you may decide to take on, again, the accountability spotlight. It's something, and know that we'll follow up with you next week, and it'll just support you to really follow through on what you say you're going to do. Okay, great. All right, let's get to the matter at hand, shall we, Nance?
Yeah,
all right.
I think it's time.
Yeah, we are talking about more is better. Again, it's a central program concept. So many people have found this to be crucial to their success in either losing a lot of weight or helping them to manage weight loss over time. But it is a very counterintuitive concept. In fact, it sort of flies directly in the face, Nancy, of one of the most repeated dieting misconceptions out there. This notion of, in order to be successful, somehow I need to learn to just eat less, or I need to learn to be to just deal with being hungry. Well, we'll unpack those 2 points, but boy, there's some fallacious thinking in both of those. Very few people are going to be successful latching onto those 2 concepts long term. So because it's so counterintuitive, we asked a question. Let me put this up. We posted this earlier in the week. Thank you so much for those of you who played along with us here and shared your first reaction when you heard this so counterintuitive concept called more is better. So we're going to sort of pepper the whole discussion here with several of your comments. Some of them were very fun. Many of them were very funny. Some of them actually brought up some really serious, important points that we want to sit on a little bit and talk about them. But so Nance, why don't you start it off here? So again, the question was, what was your first reaction when you heard this recommendation that more is actually better? So who do you want to start with, Nance?
Oh, I want to start with Debbie. There were the first few that we want to share were, I would call them simple but very effective responses.
I agree.
So Debbie basically said, that can't be right.
That can't be right. You're wrong. You're wrong. Very
and
good.
And then we had a couple of people respond with emojis.
Yes.
So I'm going to mispronounce this name, Pradeep.
I think that's right.
Wrong.
Pradeep.
Basically, 3 emojis: surprise, perplexed, and stop.
Yeah, no way.
And
that
then
can't work.
Followed up by Rita, very succinctly with the devastating single raised eyebrow.
Yeah, like you're not really expecting me to take you serious here. Very good. Those are good. It. Well, those were then followed by a couple of memes. So first we had Chelsea. So in response to, what was your first reaction to more actually being better? The meme was, this beleaguered young man, is this real life? Or are we in some sort of fantastical, imaginary world where somehow my wishes have been granted and I can actually eat more food and actually do better with my weight? Talk about flipping things upside down. And so that was from Chelsea, but a nice, clean response to this was from Nicole, who another meme. Yes, more is in fact better.
And we're getting some. Just by the way, some of the folks here are saying the same thing. Like Sherry's first reaction was, "Oh, thank goodness," and Shane said that was one of the biggest draws for me to HMR, that I could eat and be satisfied and still lose weight. It's so funny you get the 2 different types.
Yeah, those two, Sherry and Shane, very trusting of this crazy sounding concept. We appreciate the trust that you endowed to us. That's great. I will say, Nancy, though, one of my favorites was Bob. Yes. Bob, thanks for doing this one. And again, I would, to those of you who are health coaches out there, again, you're up there talking about more is better. Are people buying into it? Well, here's what Bob had to say. I thought the health coach had lost her mind. This is the opposite of anything that I had heard before. So yeah, so people may be sort of seeming like they're buying into what you're saying, but they may be thinking that you're absolutely bonkers. And then the next one, Nancy, this was one that was less on the humorous end, but more of brings up a sort of a really important point that I think we should talk about a little bit. So let me put Roro's comment up. Go ahead.
Yeah. And it just simply more, in quotes, makes me anxious.
Yeah.
And doesn't that make sense, Rick?
Oh, it does. Honestly, it's so understandable when you think about what life for so many people has been like, which was eating more equaled weight gain. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Of course, I feel compelled to sort of acknowledge that most of the foods today, the most popular ones certainly, but also the most commonly available foods, would lead to weight gain if you're eating them in any form of excess. So what we're proposing here is actually the opposite. When we say more is better in the program, and I know many of our viewers could finish my sentences here, Nancy. We're talking about, again, giving yourself permission to eat an abundance of very low calorie foods, very low calorie but filling foods. And when you do that, when you eat more of those and really give yourself, like, take the reins off, and because we're going to eat anyway. I mean, when we want to eat, generally, Nancy, with very few exceptions, right, we're going to eat if we want to eat. You eat many more of the very low calorie foods, which very few people do. It's actually a very effective way to eat fewer of the high calorie foods. It's actually a to-do approach for accomplishing that. So,
right. And Rick, just to be specific here, when we're talking about the foods that we're promoting for more is better, we're talking about the HMR foods and fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely. Because those are, while there are many other healthy foods, this is relevant certainly to those of you in phase 2, post weight loss. The measured portions of lean protein. I mean, there are lots of healthy foods out there, but they do have more calories per ounce.
Right.
I'm not sure you can just wave the wand on even something as healthy as lean proteins, Nancy, and say more is better, because the calories will add up.
Yeah.
But with HMR foods and fruits and vegetables, the calories will not add up as quickly, anywhere near as much, and we tend to get filled up before the calories add up. And that right there is that's the real sort of main conclusion here. You get filled up before the calories add up. And I would just look at this from the other way real quick, Nancy. If you think about it, if you don't sort of take on this idea of, let me give myself permission to practice more is better, what are you left with? You're really just left with
starvation, deprivation, like you just can't do it.
Yeah, white knuckling.
You can't sustain it.
Right.
It's brutal.
Hand-wringing, and why is this so hard, and I'll never really be successful. How can I do this for another hour, let alone the rest of my life?
Yeah,
name
it's
it.
Hopeless.
It's like it's this whole emphasis on willpower. So I'll just quickly share with all of you out there that when you look at surveys of people's beliefs, attitudes about weight loss and weight management, one of the more depressing findings is that people think that it's all about willpower. So, in fact, this was a study of over 1,000 people, nationally representative sample of Americans, and the top barrier that people reported to losing or maintaining weight was a lack of willpower. Well, if you think about it, it's funny, Nancy, because we ask people, well, how well does willpower work? And people just laugh, because we know that willpower doesn't work. If you're going to rely or rest your success in losing the weight you want to lose, and long-term success managing your weight and your health on somehow, some way developing willpower, that's going to be a long wait. That's a really tough thing to build up on its own. So this whole more is better conversation and concept takes the emphasis off of willpower and really just is inviting people to say yes more often to low-calorie foods that will, one more time, fill you up before the calories add up. And it keeps the weight loss going, and it supports long-term weight management. Nance, what would you say? Anything else you'd say about just this whole misguided notion that somehow, some way, it's going to all boil down to willpower?
No, I think I'll just say, just from my personal experience as someone that, was on diet since they were 10 years old, is that it never worked. And, it would work for how long it would work, and then it wouldn't work anymore, and I'd gain weight back. And it wasn't until I found a way to eat the amount of food that I needed to eat, and still be able to lose weight, that it worked for me, and I've been able to keep it off. So to me, it's like huge.
And Nancy, for people who are just hearing you share your story for the first time, just how much weight are you keeping off, and for how long?
Yeah, 60 pounds for, at this point, 40 years.
40 years. Fantastic.
So HMR program has just been my godsend for being able to keep it off all this time.
A lot of success for a lot of years, Nancy. Maybe you could entertain the idea of not practicing more is better anymore, and just, you probably developed enough willpower at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, I have to just give a quick shout out. We've got people still coming on, but Susan just came on. She says, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late." See, the regulars are really
sorry I'm late.
Here.
I love it.
I love it. And she goes, "I just got back from my first jog in a long time." Go, Susan. I know that you have been struggling with that part, with everything going on, so you must just feel over the top. So
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Really
That's
great.
Awesome.
You might be sore tomorrow, right? Those shins, the shins hitting the pavement. That's okay. Yeah. It's called the training effect. You'll get used to it. Your body will get used to it, and you might, if you're sore, you may be retaining a little water for a day or so. Don't let that throw you off.
Yeah,
jogging
may go up a little, but
it's a fabulous thing to have added to the routine here. Really.
Yeah, I'm so happy for her.
All right, I want to just read a couple of more of these posts again. Some of them are really funny, but I also just want to remind people we're talking about more is better, and in just a few short minutes here, we're going to talk about what is your best more is better strategy. So be thinking about that if you could. We'd really like that to be a very rich part of this discussion, where we can really have lots of different and varied strategies for how people are making more is better work in their life to support your success with either your weight loss or your weight management. All right, Nance, let's talk about another post here. I'm going to put up Michelle's post. Whoops.
Yes.
Here we go. Here she is. Go ahead. You want to read it?
Yes. This is a good one. I didn't believe it. I always had mixed up messages about food. Instead of eating to fuel your body, I was taught growing up that food was an enemy and dieting was a punishment.
God.
Oh. It led me to live to eat mentality. Yep. Thankfully, HMR taught me how to eat for life, and now I eat to live. Thank you.
I love that post. Michelle, thank you.
I know,
that's a very generous
It shows
post.
The pain of all of this, you know?
And I'll bet you most people watching can relate to that. This whole idea, it's this love-hate thing that goes on with food that is
and the judgment that people have.
Yep. Guilt, blame, all of these things. I mean, I don't want to make more is better sound like the panacea here, Nancy, because people will always have feelings about when they've gone off the reservation, shall we say, and gained weight. But more is better really does help to flatten a lot of these negative emotions. It basically sort of pushes this to the front, this idea of it's okay to eat. And how many times have we heard from people who've been so successful in the program, like things like, it gave me freedom around food. You remember hearing that, right, Nance?
No, certainly do.
Another one that I love is it gave me a sense of control around food that I've never had before. Yeah, which I've never had before. Exactly. I think we've said this before on these Thursday night things. There's one thing human beings don't like is to feel like they have have lost control, or that they don't have control. There's just something about that that just feels wrong on so many different levels. And hey, we all need to eat, and we know that we all need to eat, many times a day, every day. That is a tough row to hoe if you're feeling like you don't have control of this thing. So more is better. Again, it's just a huge boon to this. Actually, right to that, let me share Sylvia's post. Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing this. And she wrote, "It is all psychological in order to avoid the guilt and to keep you in the box. Ultimately, you do add calories, but it's better to add a shake then, and she put in a cheeseburger icon there, Nancy. So yeah, you may be adding calories, 100, let's want to say 120 calories in a shake, but if it's helping you to not eat the Big Mac, 540 calories, I mean, you've just saved 420 calories right there with that freedom.
And then I will add to the fact that when you eat the cheeseburger, sometimes it doesn't end at the cheeseburger and it goes on from there, as opposed to the shake, because you're still in the box. That's and you stayed in the box. So it can go on beyond that one choice too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like more is better insulates you from the slippery slope, which people talk so eloquently about in the program. That whole snowball effect. Once you start, it's easy to just keep going with high calorie foods. I'm going to put up this pretty simplistic overhead, but a lot of people don't feel this way. Sylvia Michelle just shared this. It is okay to eat. It's okay to eat. There's a lot of positive psychology that's sort of behind this idea of more is better, giving yourself permission to eat more low calorie, high volume, high nutrition foods. So, Nance, when you think about, and many of these hosts have sort of spoken to the positive psychology. So what comes to mind for you, this idea of, okay, I'm going to practice more is better, and it's positive how? What are some factors that are better compared to the traditional approach of, I'm just going to white knuckle it, I'm going to use willpower, I'm just going to try to eat less, I'm going to try to learn to just deal with being hungry? Terrible. Not useful. What are some of the benefits?
Yeah, well, I see some benefits, sort of. I look at it before, during, and after. And so quickly, before, first of all, you're just not dealing with the whole stress of decision anxiety. Mm-hmm. Should I do this? Should I do that? Blah, blah, blah. You're just like in that decision anxiety mode. So that's how it's just like, all right, I'm just going to have this. It's yes, straight. It's a yes food. I can have it. Then, it tastes good. Certainly, you've got to find ones that you really enjoy, but then you enjoy eating it. It actually tastes good. And on top of it, afterward, you feel good. You've eaten healthy food, which alone physically makes you feel better, but then you don't have any of the guilt of having kind of broken the diet or gotten out of control. So it's an all-round positive experience.
Fantastic. I love that. The before, during, after. I like that a lot, Nancy.
Yeah.
Basically, the when you give yourself, again, permission to practice more is better, you really could take these periods of suffering, decision anxiety before, after, all of that, and if not eliminate a lot of it, sometimes maybe even eliminate all of it. Just because you're actually enjoying the food, you're not feeling guilty about it, it's contributing to more success on the scale. I would just say one other thing, Nancy, just very consistent with this slide, it's okay to eat. We all like to eat. And I'll go a little further, we need to eat. This is something for 99.9% of human history. If you didn't have a strong urge to eat, then you were eliminated from the gene pool. It's in our DNA to want to eat a lot, and if you're full, to even eat a little bit more on top of it, because you had a real survival advantage when you did that, because history was just riddled with famines, and the whole goal was to try to get enough calories just to survive. So that's in our DNA. Those are our ancestors. We need to eat, and we like to eat, and it is okay to eat. And again, this more is better idea just gives you freedom around that.
So, Rick, let me just, I think, just to show your burger example here in a minute, but I just want to, Gary is asking, so just to clarify, eating more than the minimums will make me lose weight faster? Mm-hmm. And I think we would say that it often is the case, right?
What was that person's name?
Garia.
Okay, so
she's new here, which is awesome.
No, that's
I'm glad
great.
You're here.
That's
okay.
good. Let me just let's put that under the microscope for just 1 second. So there is a faulty assumption that people buy into, and it's the idea that once I get to the minimums, if I still want to eat something, and you don't have to be hungry, you might just want to eat, which is normal too. If there's this assumption that, well, I'm not going to have the shake, and I'm also not going to eat anything else, and that's where it falls apart. Because if you want to eat something, for every one time when you successfully white knuckle it and do not eat something, there are probably 100 times when you end up eating something. So if it's not the shake or the HMR entree, or if you're on healthy solutions, either of those with fruits or vegetables, or you could extend it out to phase 2, Nancy, with other healthy options in addition
absolutely.
to HMR foods. Give yourself permission to eat more. You bypass that faulty assumption that people are really slaves to, which is, I'm going to not have the extra shake and I'm not going to have anything else either. How many times has that been proven wrong? If people watching know of what we speak, provide a little reinforcement for this point. When you say to yourself, if I'm hungry or I just want to eat, I'm not hungry, but I just feel like eating. You're watching TV, you want to eat. That's normal. You give yourself permission to have the extra shake, the extra entree, the extra fruits and vegetables, or again, if you're in phase 2, whatever other healthy routines that you practice, that actually crowds out that big pitfall of falling into the foods that have far more calories and that actually have you feeling like you've careened off track. I'm seeing lots of check marks here, or thumbs ups to these points.
Oh yeah, we're getting so much endorsement for More is Better here. So for people that aren't sure, these are great posts.
Yeah. And it's not just the calories, as you just spoke to, Nancy. There are psychological, positive psychological benefits to this idea of practicing a philosophy of abundance with healthy, filling, low-calorie food versus trying to practice a philosophy of restriction and deprivation, which is what most people do. Isn't it surprising that people's diets end by noontime? Or by the next day, certainly. All right, let's we're going to sort of give a big exclamation point to this whole idea of more is better. I'm going to share with all of you an example. Some of you have undoubtedly seen this example. We feel that it just really makes a lot of supportive points of more is better. If you're eating typical high-calorie food, and just to make it simple, we just use Big Mac and large fry, very popular foods eaten outside the home. We just use them 3 times a day. That's enough calories right there to sustain a 300-pound body weight. Now, if you look at how much that is, probably a little small on the screen here, that represents, in a 24-hour period, only 2.5 pounds of food, total. 2.5 pounds of food. In 24 hours, that's not much food, 2.5 pounds of food. If you don't have an intuition about that, trust me, it's not that much food. If it was a big apple and a medium-sized bowl of oatmeal, big apple, medium oatmeal, big apple, maybe that helps you to see it. It's not that much food for a 24-hour period. If you practice this more is better approach, and Nancy, I think we'll just use the healthy solutions version of this. Here's what you would have to eat on the healthy solutions diet to match the calories of only 2.5 pounds of food here. I won't go through it, but you can see it's just so many high volume blended shakes, so many entrees with a whole variety of color vegetables and fruits. There's snacks, you got a benefit bar in there. But the real bottom line is it's 12 pounds of food. 12 pounds of food to match the calories of typical high-calorie food, only 2.5 pounds of food. So if you've ever said to yourself, you know I need to lose weight, but I don't eat that much food, and so many people have had that experience, you're probably right. You're probably not eating that much food, at least before the program. You don't have to eat much food of the typical high-calorie offerings that are available out there to weigh more than you want to. So coming back to this example, I think that the real zinger here is, let's just say you ate half of this table. It's still 6 pounds of food versus the 2.5 to weigh 300 pounds. Half the calories at breakfast, half at lunch, half at dinner, half of the snacks here. It's still 6 pounds of food. But over time, it's half the calories you would weigh half as much. Half as much by eating 6 pounds of food as opposed to 2.5 pounds of food. So we just love that example, Nancy, because, and let me ask just if anyone could comment who are watching. Did you have your version? Not the whole table here, but you had some days that in order to stay in the box and you ended up losing a lot of weight where you just really gave yourself the freedom around more is better. And we're going to be getting into that when we share some of the strategies here, Nancy, about how people did that.
We've got a lot of people endorsing this, Rick. So I think in a minute we'll get into the specific examples, but just lots of people endorsing it.
It's great. It's great. So I thought there were a couple more posts that we would share. They made some particular points. So I think we just go through them very quickly. Terry, thank you for sharing this. This was great. I honestly thought, more is better, that it was a scam to get us to buy more HMR food. I don't think that anymore. Well, obviously, Terry, you don't think that anymore because you practiced it and you saw that it actually more kept you away from the other food, the weight gaining food, and you obviously had some success with it on the scale. So that's really great. Terry, if you're listening, chime in with any additional info on that. And then another one from Pam. I fought it. I just couldn't believe more is better. We get it. That's why we're talking about it here. But once I started doing it, it worked. I was full and it kept me in the box. If you're in phase 1 of the program and you are in the box, well, I've been saying, let me say it a third time here, the calories will not add up. You will get full before the calories add up and you will keep losing weight. That's the promise of the box. It's the closest thing that we have to a guarantee in the program. And it's all about the calories. Give yourself permission to practice as much as more is better as you need to stay away from other foods, to stay in the box in phase 1. And then you use these strategies as part of managing weight long-term for phase 2. Nancy, any comment about either of those posts right there?
Yeah, I want to address, I mean, of course people look at this and think it's a scam that we're asking them to use more meal replacements than the minimums or, to continue in phase 2. And it's one of our, it's frustrating to us because we are totally doing it because people do better. But I have to share, again, I've been with this program over 30 years. And when I started, we limited the amount of meal replacements people could purchase in phase 2. And it was like 1 box a month. That's it. We really didn't endorse them at all. And Rick, you know this too. Coaching and helping people in phase 2 was really hard. They were struggling. We were having a hard time helping them. And, always continue to look at how to improve the program and realizing that all the staff was making shakes and using the shakes as part of our weight management.
Yeah, we were in phase 2 using the shakes, right?
Right. So we got together and we made a decision to bring the meal replacements in as a part of the tools to use in phase 2. We also added in at least 35 fruits and vegetables. And the more is better was kind of created at that point, and we saw that people's weight responded positively right after that. So, that was the beginning of our whole triple imperative concept and continuing to use meal replacement strategically in phase 2.
Yeah, hard to believe.
As well as more is better.
Hard to believe that this was not part of the program. No more is better. Only eat the minimums and don't use meal replacements in phase 2. Boy, have we come a long way. And it's just because people do better when they do. All right. Well, with that, we've been sort of... This is where I'm going to ask those of you watching to please contribute. Write a comment. And in particular, what we're looking for is we just come up with your best, or at least one of your best. What's your best more is better strategy? Is it just picking a day and saying, I'm just going to have a high day? That's probably my favorite, Nancy. It's just so simple and it just guides me the whole day. Or it may be picking parts of the day where you're really pushing higher numbers during those times of the day that are harder than others. Jennifer had shared that she's still in the box earlier, and we went to the old tried and true every 2 hours have a healthy food in the box. Jennifer, that's just, you took on the coaching, you did it, and look at you, you're still in the box, lost weight this week. It just was perfect the way that whole worked out. It might be a more is better recipe, Nance.
Well, and there's a more is better recipe. People find that. Like Sherry said right now, she's saying 7 meal replacements and 15 fruits and vegetables. So that seems to be a recipe for her. Incredible. For a day. Shane's mentioning that he really likes to eat a lot of food. So he has a full plate of vegetables along with his entree or whatever proteins he's having. And he eats often 70 plus servings of vegetables per week.
Yep.
And on the side, he says, side note, my blood works never looked better than ever.
That's great.
And he's right up my alley, Shane. I'm 65 to 70 servings
stop bragging.
a week as well. I definitely way over Rick, you know.
I know. I'm a 50 guy, 50, 70 day. All right.
Sometimes I have to get to getting up there a little bit.
The hour's getting late here. Might be time to move on. So, are people sharing any strategies here?
Yes. So let's start hearing. What are your favorite more is better strategies? Let's see.
Yeah, please be specific.
All right, Marianne, also 72 fruits and vegetables average. She's a phase 2
fantastic
person.
Marianne. Really great, really great. By the way, there's two things here. We are asking you to share a specific strategy, a way that you practice this philosophy of abundance with healthy food. But we also are asking you to think about, is there anything to do differently as you leave here? And you may decide to take on the accountability spotlight. If there's something, some place, some area of your performance with the HMR principles, the program, where you want to elevate your game, nothing will hold your feet to the fire more than sharing it here with our community, Thursday night event, and then knowing that Nancy and I will touch base with you next week within this event again, just to see how it went. So that's an invitation. So what is your more is better strategy? Do you have one that you can share?
I've got a couple. This was another endorsement from Sharon saying I plateaued for 3 weeks. This was phase 1. My health educator suggested that I add a shake each day. The next weigh-in, I lost 3 pounds.
Yeah.
We see this all the time. And Susan, who's in phase 2, says she uses more is better for extra dessert, chocolate PB2 shake or pudding, especially when the rest of the family's having ice cream. Again, more is better is a tool to keep you full and satisfied. It's also an environmental control procedure when, you can't control all of your environment and other people, right?
Yep. Nancy, I would say, just coming back to that high day point,
yes.
if I was to win $1 million, if I pulled off a guaranteed very low calorie day, I have one thing that would be part of that high day of the tools of the toolbox of the box above the others. Do you know what it would be for me? Which tool?
Shakes.
Yes, you got it. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Shakes.
No, I know you.
Yeah, no, shakes. There's just something about getting on a roll with those shakes. To Jennifer's plan. 2 hours, time to make another shake. Maybe it's 3 hours for you. Maybe it's every 3.5 hours. That for me, if I say I'm going to do a 6, 7, 8 shake day, that is absolutely the easiest way for me to pull off a guaranteed very low calorie day and win that nice little purse. So that's my biggest strategy.
Yeah, that's your biggest strategy.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of 2 or 3 vegetables with entrees, the frozen steamer bags, which are great. Cut up
great.
Fruits, just ways to have them available and ready to eat. At least 2 cups of vegetables with each entree.
Yes.
Having a pudding along with a meal. So we're getting lots of strategies. Is it time to?
I think we're going to. We'll leave it at that. I do want to ask people, though. I'm going to put the accountability spotlight up. Yeah. We don't need a lot of people here. Even if it's just one, boy, that would be the spotlight. One person who says, I'm going to do X, and then that we would be following up with you. Is there something to do differently in the next 7 days for you as it relates to this whole idea of more is better? We've talked about the fact that it's counterintuitive and it flies in the face of conventional dieting wisdom no matter how you look at it. And yet, and you've seen it here from people in the program, it works because you're not talking about the whole, you're not playing the game of how much food, you're playing a calorie management game. It's a much more sophisticated way to approach weight loss and weight management. And when you play the calorie management game with more is better, you can eat a lot of food, and you don't even have to be hungry, and you can lose weight and you can better manage your weight because again it boils down to calories. So more is better and having some freedom around that. Is there anything that anyone wants to take on in the next 7 days? Just think about that. Is there an area of the program that you've fallen off on that you want to bring back? Maybe it is the shakes. Maybe it's eating more fruit. You decide what it is. What do you want to take on? And if you're so inclined, of course you want to, say it to yourself, and we would highly recommend that you document it because we're all so busy. I mean, it's easy for these things to just fly out of the mind as you move on to your next thing. But if you really want to play the big accountability game, share it here. What's something that you want to do differently in the next 7 days as a function of this conversation that would support you? And you'd be willing to take it on and have us talk about it next week, and you can report to us if you did it or not.
And Susan's saying, you wanted to be going back to being a regular exerciser, and wait a minute, that's not about more is better. But you go ahead. You're doing more is better with physical activity.
Well, more is better with physical activity
absolutely.
too.
So you go for it.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned, you have got your accountability, Susan. So we'll look forward to hear about that next week.
Yeah, the only difference
Sherry's going to be needing. She wants to drink more water. Make sure she gets in at least the 64 ounces. Karen's working with Lydia, who's her health educator, who's also here. She's going for 70 veggie fruits this next week. Fantastic. Love it. So, that means finding some days. So you're averaging 10 a day. So that's significant.
Great.
Kate's going for a high meal replacement day on Sunday.
All right.
Barb's walking at least 10 minutes. 5 out of the next 7 days. More is better there.
Nance, I'm going to actually throw myself under the accountability spotlight here.
Oh, okay.
Give me a blast plan.
For veggie fruits?
You tell me.
Okay.
Give me any blast. I'm going to show everyone how coachable I am. You give me a blast plan, and I'm going to do my best to do it, and you follow up with me next week on this broadcast.
Okay. So I'm thinking 12 or 13 fruits or vegetables.
The Wi-Fi seems to be going out again. I didn't hear that. Let me wrap this up. All right. I heard it. We all heard it. So you want me to blast the fruits and veggies. You said 12 or 13? Am I being a wimp if I go with 12?
It's fine. 12's fine.
That's my Thanksgiving Day plan.
Yeah,
usually.
I know. You've done it before.
I know I have. All right. That's it. I'm under the accountability spotlight.
You guys heard it here. We're going to check on Rick to see if he finds a day he does 12. 12
servings of fruits and vegetables. I hope this space is not empty next week, as someone is afraid to show up. No, I will do it, and I'm going to make sure I do it, of course, because that's the accountability spotlight. All right, Nance, thank you. Any others that you want to share publicly here?
Yes, I'm getting others. Yeah, but keep writing them down. Daria, I love this. She's just started on Sunday, so I love that you're here. So she's finding herself really hungry at 10 o'clock. So she's going to eat more veggie or shake in the morning for my more is better. Absolutely. Have a big shake. Have a smoothie.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Great.
Donna's going to add weightlifting for more PA. Shane's going to do a few more is better days with shakes.
Fantastic. Great.
That's a great one. Oh, God. I won't even say it. Yes. No, I am going to say it. So, Kate, you know how you're loving shakes? Kate says Rick's going to add beans to his shakes.
Oh, I can't believe I was just going to make a joke. Hey, Nance, on those 12 servings, can I have 6 servings of beans for my 12 veggies and fruits?
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, goodness.
Okay.
All right. Well, we should wrap.
Yeah.
Do you get enough for the account? Well, you certainly have enough because I know you're going to follow up with me. That's fine. All right. Let's wrap it up here. We have hammered more is better. I do think this could be a topic for another episode, or we could go on for 2 hours here, because it really is something that just feels wrong when you first heard it, and so many of you spoke eloquently to it. But the reality is, when you're eating a high volume of low-calorie, healthy food, so many good things happen to you. The calories take care of themselves, okay? Certainly compared to if you were eating other, typical foods. That leads to better, more consistent weight loss in phase 1. It leads to better weight management in phase 2, and Nancy, maybe even some weight loss in phase 2. That's certainly possible.
Definitely.
And someone already mentioned this. Your health is different. Eating a high volume of low-calorie, healthy food, along with PA, we should throw that in there. A couple of people mentioned that. It just does amazing things for your blood work, for your blood pressure. It reduces your health risks, and it actually has you feeling like you are in the driver's seat of your weight management and your health management. And that feels really good emotionally. That's a point you've made often, Nance. The emotional benefits.
And the emotional, just feeling in control. And I'll even add just your immediate quality of life is enhanced when you're eating in a healthy way. I'm sure all of you who are doing this can relate to the fact that when you're eating healthfully, you just feel better. You have less stomach issues. You don't feel as tired. You just feel happier. And, what's really a contrast is, I've had people say, well, I just had one of those weekends. It was a high weekend. I was, eating like I used to eat. And, I just realized I just don't feel as well. I can't wait to, get into my fruits and vegetables again. So, there's that aspect of it, too.
Yeah. I've heard through the years many people talk about the good full versus bad full. And, we've never really defined that, but I think we all know what each of those feel like.
Right.
Full on
exactly.
healthy, low-calorie food versus the alternative. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being here live. That's special to us. We really appreciate that. You guys drive the conversation with your comments. Really, really great. But also for those
and it makes it better, Rick, for people who watch it after the fact.
Yeah.
To get to watch it and see the comments. So
absolutely,
you really make this event what it is.
Yes. So thank you for being here, and for those of you who are watching it after the fact, thank you for doing that as well. We hope these are useful conversations, because that's our goal here. So listen, everyone, have a great week. We will see you next Thursday, same day, same time, and I'll just leave with this. Next week, our plan is to have a very special guest joining us. There'll be a 3-way conversation. All 3 of us will be on the screen, because we know we never have technology problems, Nancy, right? That should work.
No.
Stay tuned to on the Diet Community page to hear updates about next week's event. It'll be 3 of us, our special guest, and a very important conversation sort of to round out this in the box last week. More is better this week. And then next week's topic. It may be really the trifecta of important topic areas to cover. So we hope that you will join us next week. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Nance, have
a
great
great week, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week.
You bet. Signing off. Take care, guys.
Bye, everybody.